I'm Kim Bailey and I'm here to present to you a 5-part video series to introduce you to floral art and floral design. These 5 videos are designed for people who have never attempted floral art before. It's not for florists, it's not for people who want to be florists. There are plenty of other educational resources that you can find that will help you with that journey. This is for people who go to floral art displays or flower shows or have a wonderful garden and would like to do something with the plant material in their garden, or would like to do some of the things that their mother did or their grandmother did or their auntie did or does, and they don't know where to start. So I'm going to help you with that journey with the benefit of my experience from my journey. Now today in the first video we're going to look at the sorts of tools that you might need when you start out, and all through this 5-part series I'm going to use things that I have found around the house or around the yard. Haven't gone out to buy anything because I think it's important for you when you're starting out to look at what you can use that you've got already. Don't go and buy all of the professional stuff and then not know how to use it. At some point in the future we will go on to looking at those things, but let's start out with very basic information, tools and techniques that you can use from today. So first of all, today we're going to look at the tools that you might need. And first and foremost, really the only thing you'll need is a knife. Because you can cut your plant material in the garden with it, you can trim it, you can use it pretty much for everything that you would need to do in terms of floral art when you're starting out. It is a technique that requires a little bit of practice to actually cut the stems with the knife and not cut yourself, but that's all part of the excitement too. So if you're worried about using a knife, then scissors are the next best thing. Scissors are the next best thing. A good pair of all-purpose scissors. They don't need to be anything very special, but ones that you're comfortable using, ones that you can get your hand into and out of quickly, that you know will go through a reasonable number of stems in the garden or plant material that you might be using. The next thing on the list is secateurs. So if you're a gardener, you'll already have these, and these are an invaluable tool for anything from flowers and small plant material right up to small twigs and branches. If you are going to get adventurous and you do a lot of walking and you see lots of fallen timber, or you're close to a beach and you see driftwood and those sorts of things, then you might want to also invest or have already a saw, just a hardback saw. Not essential, I have to say, but handy to have. If you've already got one around, don't go out and buy these things. These are things I want you to use, or try and use the things that you've got at home. The other useful tool that I find is a pair of pliers, and that's more for when you start to do things with wire, which we won't be doing in this series because that's something that you might not have at home. I'm on a farm, so I do have wire that is readily available for me to use without having to go out and buy it. But pliers, once you start to get a little bit more comfortable with your designing, pliers are a good thing to have. And we have, generally we would have two lots of pliers, ones that are flat nose and ones that are needle nose, and again in a later video I'll show you how to use the difference. Main thing with all of your tools is to find ones, or have ones that are comfortable in your hand. If you're going to go out and buy them, try them. Don't just pick up the cheapest one, don't just pick up the biggest one because you think, well, they're bigger, they must be better. And don't use the ones out of the shed that the male or the other person in your household might be using, because they won't necessarily be comfortable in your hand and easy to use, and you need to have something that's easy to use and easy to manoeuvre with. In a later video in this series, I'm going to show you how to use a turntable. Now a lot of you might have this already, often called a lazy Susan, and we use them on tables for doing dinner, where you've got in the centre you might have your sauces or your condiments or that sort of thing in the centre of the table so you can spread it around. A lot of people use them for cake decorating. Very valuable, if you've got one already, very valuable. to use in your floral arrangements, and later again in the series I'll show you a design where we will do it on the turntable so you can see how to use it. I will say that for the first 8 years of my floral designing I didn't have a turntable. I don't have a household that required one, and I didn't do cake decorating, so I didn't have a turntable, and it was actually a gift from my parents one Christmas, and fortunately they chose to always give me things that I could use in my floral designing, so it was a great way to accumulate things that I needed to use without having to focus on when was I going to get this and which one was I going to choose. I just would give them a list, and still to this day my dad does that. I give him a list of things that I might find useful, and that's what comes in Christmas or birthday presents, which is good. When you are designing, I would suggest that you get some plastic that you put around you. Be careful when you're putting that on the floor because you're dealing with water and plastic, it will get slippery, and we don't want you slipping over in the middle of the masterpiece that you're creating, but it is a good way of collecting all the scraps, all the offcuts that you're doing. And if you are a gardener and you have one of these pop-up bins, then that can often replace the plastic because, and I'll open this and it'll pop up really fast. But it's a good one to have with you because you can carry it around, you can do your designing anywhere and everywhere, and it just pops up like that. And put all your offcuts in, put all your rubbish in, tip it out to your compost or wherever else you keep it, and then it lies flat again. So it's a very useful way. I won't try and do that up while I'm talking to you. It's a very useful way of keeping all your mess contained because it is messy when you're doing the designing, so make sure you've got a workspace that will withstand the water, that you've got a bit of room to move, that you've got your essential tools. Safety first, put the blades down, except for these because they're locked. Essential tools, your workspace, your work area that you're going to work in, nice and light, place for the rubbish, place for your offcuts. And in part 2 of the video, we're going to look at the containers that you can use that you will find around your house.